You're watching Slingshot The Podcast, the misunderstood voice, the culture's power. Today's episode is entitled Reading Rainbow. It's an interesting title today.
That's interesting. Yeah, for sure.
Joined here by Charles Gregory.
You already know. What's up, people? Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you like and subscribe. We need you out there. Let's go.
You know, the last few episodes have been named after songs.
Yeah.
There is a song called Reading Rainbow.
It is.
Where do you think I'm going with this?
We want to listen.
You're going to make me sing the song?
We want to listen. Let's go. Karaoke in the building. Yeah.
All right. Well, Reading Rainbow. Come on, I'm going to take us back a little bit. If you're of a certain age, this is particularly for, I guess, Gen X, right?
Yeah.
This is for Gen X out here today. Mm-hmm. You're Gen X. You remember LeVar Burton.
That's right. And
you remember the television show Reading Rainbow.
Mm-hmm.
And you probably remember the jam Reading Rainbow as well.
That's right.
And from 1983 to 1999, it was sung by a disco songstress named Tina Fabrique.
Mm.
So she's the original song. Guess who took it over in 2001?
Who did that?
Shaka Khan.
Shaka Khan. Let me tell you. Shaka Khan.
Shaka Khan took it over 2001.
Sure.
So, you know, LeVar Burton, shout out to him.
Yeah.
Many, many seasons there at Reading Rainbow. And here I'm going to go along. Gen X, you know, this is for you. I can go anywhere. Mm-hmm. I can go anywhere. Friends to know and ways to grow. A reading rainbow.
A reading rainbow.
I can't sing, so I'm going to just say the words.
A reading rainbow.
I can be anything.
Anything.
I take a look. It's in a book. A reading rainbow.
Reading rainbow. That's right.
That was a jam when we were little.
Did pretty good there. Yeah.
Well, today's episode is entitled Reading Rainbow, and we're going to have a really good conversation today about all things education, the need to protect kids, how there are attempts to defund our public education right now, attempts to defund our public television as well. You know, Reading Rainbow was on PBS.
Yeah, you know, speaking of that, TV back then taught you a lot, right? We learned a lot. Remember, I forgot his name. This is a bill.
Yeah.
I learned that.
Right.
I actually learned, you know, when we talk about learning civically, being civically engaged and how, you know, policies and laws are created. I learned that from watching TV cartoons, you know.
Right.
And so it's a shame. And I believe that was on PBS, Channel 12, WHYY or something like that, that we learned that. And how will you take that away? It's a shame. Wow.
Well, I did. I caught a lot of lessons. I mean, today's kids, they get an iPad put in front of them and they learn that way. But for us, it was absolutely PBS and WHYY and all those channels. What was it? Channel 12.
Channel 12.
In the Philadelphia market.
That's right. All
right. So it was LeVar Burton for 21 seasons, making sure that kids thought reading was fun. They were learning, having a good experience with that. Celebrity guests came through as well. Maya Angelou came through and blessed Reading Rainbow at one point. Angela Bassett, Wayne Brady, Ozzie Davis, Whoopi Goldberg. So some of the greats have come through. Well, you know, as we're talking about PBS and PBS Kids, of which Reading Rainbow aired, we are currently in a moment in which our public education system is being defunded. But I want to talk for a moment about our public news stations, the public airwaves. You know, it's typically a trusted source of information. And in this moment, folks like PBS and WHYY and all those are finding that their funding has gone away because they've been labeled as too woke. You know, the whole diversity, equity, inclusion, anti-diversity, equity, inclusion movement has really shut down those folks. And, you know, we talk about where we learn so much, Sesame Street, Mr. Rogers, all of those. Right. On public news and public radio and public television, public media.
I can't believe it. Remember 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
That's right.
Ooh. Yo, how do you remove that? This is what we grew up in.
Yeah.
And it's just unfortunate. And I hate the term woke. First of all, y'all let people come in and change the whole idea of what woke was. Right. So I got an issue with that, first of all. But, you know, this conversation about woke and woke politics and all of it's just so wrong and so, you know, it's it panders to a certain side of people to support this narrative of now being woke is black or being woke is DEI, right? And I'm sure that you'll go into that, conversation, but it's just so it's disturbing, just to say the least. Yeah.
I rarely just say DEI. I'm going to say the words. If we're going to talk about DEI, I'm going to say the words, because you're going to have to tell me to my face that you're against diversity. Tell me to my face you're against equity or equality. Tell me to my face that you're against inclusion. Because when you can just spit out an acronym, DEI, it's meaningless. But if you have to say the words out loud and you tell me you're anti-diversity, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, that's heavy. Yeah.
What's wrong with you?
Say it out loud. Yeah.
And when we talk about diversity, there's diverse ways in which people learn.
That's right.
Right? Because we're not all having the same learning styles. Some of us needed that. A bill is just a bill sitting on Capitol Hill cartoon to learn.
That's right. That's right.
Some of us are auditory. Some of us learn kinesthetically, right? Some of us need to put our hands and touch it and taste it and feel it to learn something. Some of us can read it. Some of us can hear it. So there's diversity in all things that we do, and you need the diversity. You need to be able to be a teacher and help your kids who learn in diverse ways.
That's right. And just to kind of bring this home, all of us are researchers. All of us are quote unquote educated, right? And I hate to use that term in terms of, being formally educated, right, with Temple University, and as a Research One university, certain things that you learn as it relates to how do people learn. And some people learn linear. Most of us learn experientially, right? So there's the term experiential learning, right? So when we get creative and go into the arts, which is another reason why the arts are so important, you're learning by doing, right? You're learning through the experience as you watched these shows and seeing the characters, seeing the colors. You're learning indirectly, and that's how we were able to retain. So I didn't mean to get on my soapbox, but it's just unfortunate that they are utilizing certain things to try to pander to certain people to say this is bad because of, and it's just so disingenuous. That's all. Yeah.
Well, not only have we defunded public radio and access to that, defunding of public education, and those that have a need for a special skill set, seeing that their funding has been depleted there as well. If we're going to get rid and disband of the entire Department of Education, I mean, what does this mean for kids who learn differently?
Yeah, we're going to have to, it's a shame, right? We're just going to have to do our job, and that's the thing when it comes to, when we think of the powers that be, right? And we always have the conversation of sometimes you just got to laugh at this guy. You got to laugh to stop yourself from crying, right? It's just going to take us to have our strategies and come up with our own. We've been talking about this a long time anyway, stop depending on other agencies to do the job for us. And as a people, we can come up with our own thing to make sure that our children are being educated and our children are being supported, because no one else is going to do it now, so we have to be more vigilant in what we do to make sure that we hold ourselves accountable to make sure that we handle that. And I hate it's just so frustrating that they target certain ideas and perspectives just to try to, make a point, which is stretching, right? But it is what it is. Yeah.
Well, we're talking about today reading Rainbow and the gift that it is to read and comprehend and learn. And we know a real thing. We've talked about this in previous episodes, that the school to prison pipeline is real.
Yeah.
School to prison pipeline is real. And if you're someone who's struggling in school and they mischaracterize you as a bad kid because you may have a different way of learning, this could put you into all kinds of things at the end of the day, right? Where you're going to have to be held after school and in detention, and you're labeled a bad kid. And then you have police in schools. And so what this leads to are children, particularly disproportionately Black children, other students of color, who find themselves in front of law enforcement in schools and then eventually behind prison bars. So, I'm grateful that today we are going to be joined by an outstanding individual and a fellow Temple alum like us, right? So we're going to be joined by Brent Johnstone, and he's going to talk to us about his experience in growing up and the educational system he experienced and what he's trying to bring forward now. So we're grateful to have Brent Johnstone, co-founder of Fathers Read 365. So we'll be right back with Brent Johnstone. Stick around. You're watching Slingshot The Podcast. This is more than just a podcast. This is a movement to inspire and motivate and mobilize. This is for those whose voices have been unheard, misunderstood, undervalued, and underserved. We're going to talk about sports, culture, entertainment, and we're going to use this to build power in our communities. You're watching Slingshot the Podcast, and we're back. Today's episode is entitled Reading Rainbow, and we are joined by Brent Johnstone. He is co-founder of Fathers Read 365, and we're happy that he's in the building. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you for having me. A pleasure to be here.
Yes. So we have a lot in common, the three of us up here. I don't know what it is, because I'm not doing this on purpose.
Okay.
But I just think that Temple grads are dope.
That's right.
Owls are everywhere.
Owls are everywhere, and I think we're doing dope things.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
So all three of us here, Temple grads here
TU.
in the building.
Yeah, we went to Temple at a special time in the 90s.
In the 90s. That was a great time to be there.
Great energy on the campus.
What dorm were you in?
I did Peabody, the first New Res, which is Whitehall.
New Res, yeah.
And I ended up at the Towers.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. And you were where?
I was at Whitehall. Well, New Res.
New Res.
Yeah.
New Res. But yeah.
Were we on the same floor?
I think you, and I think you was above me.
Okay.
No, below me.
Yeah.
You was on first, second floor.
I don't remember. I was on the second floor, I want to say.
No, maybe we was on it because I was on the second floor.
Yeah.
Maybe
New Res. It was New
I
Res
was
then.
first and second.
Yeah.
I stayed
New Res.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to-
But shout out to New Res.
New
Straight
Res.
across the street from Club McDonald's.
Yes. right across the street from Club McDonald's. Absolutely.
Front
Mickey
row
D's.
seat.
Well, welcome, Brent. We're happy to have you here today.
Thanks for having me.
The last segment we were talking about reading Rainbow, and you came in all prepared.
Damn, I saw the showrunner. I said, oh, I got a Reading Rainbow shirt.
Yes.
And Reading Rainbow means a lot to me, as a lot of people from our generation. So, but seeing and hearing some of the changes that are going around, shows like that and stations that produced it is alarming.
Did you have any favorites on the PBS lineup?
My favorite was Sesame Street. I was a big Bert and Ernie guy. I love Bert and Ernie, but I actually like, and it's funny how life has worked out. I like Mr. Rogers. As boring as he was, I loved how he came in and he was just a cool guy and he shared his little story with everybody.
right.
But I really got
Red and
into
yellow and pink and green, purple and all.
this guy said he wasn't singing before this show. He,
I know, he did say, I'm not singing. But he's
about
been
the
singing.
third song he done bust into.
It's trauma, man. It's trauma.
But you see how much those songs and
Right.
that it's very vivid in our minds even now as adults.
Yeah. Mr. Rogers is special. We're, Pennsylvania-based show. And so Mr. Rogers was out in Pittsburgh.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah,
I
he
didn't know
was.
that.
Yeah, he was Pittsburgh. And I was born out in Pittsburgh. And my dad sold Mr. Rogers a car.
Really?
Wow.
The real was he really Mr. Rogers? Or
I don't know what his real name is. Something else.
oh man, that's amazing.
Absolutely. So, yes, shout out to that. All right. Well, we're happy to have you here. Our studio's in Delaware County. Where are you residing nowadays?
I live in Philadelphia, born and raised in Philadelphia. Love Philadelphia is where I do my work at. Love it. Trying to get out here to Delaware County more. It's right outside. I always forget how close. It's literally across the street, right? But getting more programming out here because of that.
So tell us a little about something about your background. I mean, besides Temple, we get that. What else is going on here?
I'm one of 10 children from Isaac Johnstone.
Wow.
Big family. My mom and dad raised in Uptown all my life. My dad was a Temple cop. My mom worked retail and community she ended up with the school district the last 20 years of her life. But we were raised as a old school family. Had dinner. Had a mom and dad in the house, which wasn't that common in the 80s. And a lot of that led to what I am now, because I saw my mom and dad not only raise their children, I saw them be mothers and fathers for a community. So I come from that, played sports most of my life. That's what got me into college. I had 5 scholarship offers, and I was so mad at the time because my dad made me go to Temple. And I didn't want to go to Temple. They was losing at the time. And I knew Temple. I was around Temple literally since I was born. I actually was going to go to Pitt. And he vetoed that. And honestly, thankfully he did, because the way my life travels went, it might not have went that well. It definitely wouldn't have went that way. But the blessings I saw by going to Temple, it really, he saw something that I didn't, and that's what a parent is supposed to do.
That's right. Temple's been a blessing. That's a good thing. Mm-hmm. So tell us about you as a student.
Horrible. From day one. And I never forget the first chapter. I just recently wrote my life story. I wrote a book, and the first chapter is called "The Party Is Over." And that's what my dad said to me when we got the call. He got the call saying which day I had to report for kindergarten. And at the time, I didn't know that I was struggling with anything, but I did not like the concept of school. Even as a 4-year-old young boy, I did not like the concept. And when I got into school, it was like, I can't imagine anyone hated school as much as I did. And I live with dyslexia, right? But at the time, I didn't know it. No one knew it. And for children who enter school living with different learning differences, imagine how difficult that could be for a 6-year-old person sitting in a classroom trying to grasp what everyone else is saying and doing, which seems pretty easily to everyone else. But you can't get past the first sentence, and they finish the whole page. And school was traumatic. And recently, a term that I saw, I'm like, oh yeah, that's me. It was called educational trauma, and I definitely lived a lot of educational trauma.
Yeah. Is that what has you where you are today, and what has impacted your life and work choices?
Yes, because I tried to run from it. I tried to run from it because it's not nothing that you run. Most people don't. Now I do, and I do it specifically, but most people don't run around advertising their difference, right? Especially a learning difference that's connected, what most people kind of perceive as being dumb. If we're being honest, if you talk about you struggle with reading, the assumption is that you're dumb, right? People believe that, and not only do the outside world believe that, you internalize that. If I'm sitting here trying to read the same page as this other kid and he's getting it and I'm not, you internalize that as, I must be kind of dumb. Now, one of the craziest things about that, I thought I was one of the smartest people in the class at the same time, but you're not judged on your creative mind in school. You're not judged on your problem-solving skills. You're judged on textbook work, the work you do in those textbooks. And I was failing hard there. And without my mom, I don't know where I would be, to be honest with you.
Were you ever diagnosed?
I was diagnosed my second year in college. I had made it that far. And what's crazy about that to me is, shout out to Karen Williams. She was the academic advisor for sports at the time. You know Karen?
I'm familiar.
Okay, cool. Yeah. That's she's an angel in my life. I had to turn in an independent study. So I had a class for the whole summer, and I didn't have to go to class. I had to turn in this paper, and it counted for credits. So I thought this was the best class of my life. I had a room in the summertime, and it was great. That changed my life, because when I handed in that paper, Karen looked at that paper for maybe 30 seconds. She looked at it again for maybe 30 seconds, and she said, "Have you ever been tested?" And at that moment, it was like something warm came over me, because I'm like, oh, wow, someone's starting to, because I always knew it was something going on, but I couldn't. I'm a kid. I didn't know what it was. I said, I don't know, Karen. I said, for what? She said, for dyslexia. And I said, I've never been tested, but Karen, I know something is wrong. Yeah. She set me up to get tested. I got diagnosed with mild dyslexia and ADD at the time, which is now ADHD. And that was the start of one finally saying, yo, you're not dumb. Like, you are okay. This is not you. This is it. My brothers and sisters are literally, out of the big crew, it's 4 of us that grew up, together. age-wise, and they getting straight A's. I mean, literally, especially my sisters, they getting straight A's every report card. I'm bringing home 2 F's, 5 F's, 3 F's. Same mom, same dad, same expectations, same routines. And it's like, what the heck is wrong with me?
Yeah.
So when that diagnosis came, it's funny, rest in peace, Malcolm Jamal Warner. Literally the first thing I thought of was that Bill Cosby episode, because that's the only time I had ever heard of dyslexia prior to someone telling me I had it.
Yeah. We just did an episode not too long ago. We were talking about Malcolm Jamal Warner and how the life lessons came out of the Bill Cosby show. The Cosby show. Yeah, rest in peace.
And real quick on the Malcolm Jamal Warner point, I was trying to, on the Cosby show, there were girls in every age group. From college down to the baby, Rudy. Malcolm Jamal Warner, he was it for the boys. Every lesson for us came through one character, which was him. And that, I was hurt. I'm sure a lot of y'all was when he passed. I was really, and I don't take a lot of celebrity deaths really hard, but I felt, because I'm like, that was my brother right there. Like, that was my boy. So just shout out again, rest in peace to him. But that was the first thing that came to my mind, because on that show, he kind of like antagonized his parents. Like, I told y'all, like, y'all was on me. This is bigger than me. And I did that a little bit with with my parents, because it was like, listen, for years I always heard, you're not working hard enough. Brent, you're being lazy. You're not trying. And my thing is, and I couldn't curse out my parents, but I'm thinking in my head, ain't no one trying harder than me right now to try to get this down. So to be hit with you not trying hard enough, that ends up to, you know what? Quitting. And a lot of kids who don't have that solid foundation of a support system, a good family support system, they do quit, because this is hard to live with. It's very hard to live with. Basketball. If you can't play basketball, guess what? You don't have to play basketball. Reading, there is no way around reading. Anything you do in this world, especially now, right? Even communications now. Had a kid 12, 13 years old, couldn't spell his name, couldn't spell it. The girls loved him. Great looking young guy. He was Dominican and Puerto Rican. And I never forget one day, me and him having a heart to heart, because I'm sharing with him my struggle. And I understand where he is. And he said, yo, I can't text him. And at first, and I'm like, what are you talking about? And he said it again, like, yo. And the way he said it was like, yo, I can't text him. And I said, oh, wow.
That's heavy. That's heavy. No, because some people don't get why some kids respond a certain type of way, because they're used to, well, you should already know. Right? You should already know X, Y, and Z. But it's some kids that truly got similar experience where, they were like really upset with this person, really upset they're not responding, and what is the matter with them? And literally he was too scared. And of course, when it comes to gentlemen, we got egos, right? He was too scared, especially as a little, it's not cool. So it's hard to tell somebody, I didn't know what this meant. Like literally can't make out what you're saying. And
because the culture has changed a little bit too.
The culture's changed, right? But to the point when we talk about social media, some people laugh at how people are responding via the text, because it's misspelled words in there. A lot of people don't really know how to articulate or text appropriately, right? Air quotes, right? That's why you'll get LOL sometimes. That's why you'll get
a GIF.
Exactly, because that's how they communicate. And one last thing, I didn't mean to interrupt you or cut you off, but you will start to notice that when you talk about gifts, you will start to notice a lot more images and pictures coming from certain people that's pushing, like that's trying to have a conversation through that imagery. And so we have to just be a little bit more cognizant when we're pointing fingers and saying that, oh, they just are ignorant or they just don't understand. No, they're trying to communicate. They're just communicating in a different way.
And bringing it back to readings, one of the things parents get beat up for is when their kid doesn't know how to read.
That's right.
It's one of the few things, if a kid doesn't know how to do, that parents who aren't reading teachers, right? But this is how you can help. And glad you brought that up. Reading with your child. My mom read me with all the time. She couldn't teach me how to read. I read with my son all the time until he got his Wilson's tutor. He started learning how to read. But what he did learn is a lot of vocabulary.
Yeah.
How to use words in context.
That's right.
And it can almost be confusing to
Context,
people because when people hear me speak, they never imagine I have a reading issue.
Mm-hmm.
They never imagine I have a writing issue. That's another thing that goes unmentioned is writing. It runs right along with reading.
Yeah.
However, while you do want to read with your kids, it's so they can learn certain words. I worked in a
That's right.
juvenile justice system for a long time. And vocabulary got so many people hemmed up in charge
That's
that they
right.
didn't need to be in.
That's right.
Vocabulary got so many kids put on medicine that they didn't need to be
100%.
on. Their parents didn't understand the words. A great example I always use, I worked in this facility. And technically, a kid is a danger. If you tell him to do something 2 times and he doesn't comply, he is now a threat, right? And you can go hands-on and with all that good stuff. But long story short, they told this kid to tuck his shirt in. Told him once, told him twice. He didn't tuck his shirt in. 2 guys, next thing you know, he was a built kid too. They wrestling with the kid. He's on the ground. They done slammed him and put him on all type of restraints. He got up and they said, yo, just put your shirt in.
Yeah.
And he said, well, why didn't y'all say that? Tuck. He didn't know what tuck meant.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
How many times is tuck in his
right.
house being used for putting something in?
Right.
100%.
And he was 14, 15 years old.
Right.
Think of another word. Someone just screamed freeze.
Yeah.
You think, oh, freeze. Everyone knows to do this.
Yeah.
Freeze.
Yeah.
I'm not really
That's
equating
right.
this with stopping and putting my hand. It's not cold out here. I'm not, you know what I'm saying? And people will say, oh, you should know that. One of the last days of school working in Camden High, I said something about manners. About 50, 60 kids in attendance in this program. When I said it, I noticed they all kind of got like quiet.
Yeah.
I said, y'all know what manners mean, right? Nobody said anything.
Yeah.
The one kid in the back raised his hand. Now, he got it because he has manners and he had older parents.
Yeah.
I said, blank, what is manners? Tell me. He said, he said, they call me J-Stone. He said, J-Stone, I don't know what manners are, but I know I got them.
Yeah. That's what's up. Yeah.
And I just looked at the English teacher. I'm like, because he used to do word of the day with them every day.
Right.
I said, I think we got to go over another word.
Yeah.
But most of us, right, you'll tell to a kid, you ain't have some manners, or you ain't minding your manners. And they looking at you like, what are you even talking about? So that's where vocabulary, and it's important for parents to read with their children. You're not going to necessarily teach a child to read if they are struggling, but you will equip them with so much vocabulary, how to use words, what words mean. Now, they may always tell people I use words, but literally if I see them, sometimes I can't identify them.
Yeah.
But I might say this word every time you see me.
And it all translates to when you're going to take the SATs.
That's right. I was about to go there.
To the
Go ahead.
SATs.
Go ahead,
because,
preach. Come on.
I said I was born in Pittsburgh. We had different words down here in Philadelphia. So cabinet was cupboard. And so if you're kind of taking an SAT test and they're talking about cupboards and you're from Philadelphia, you don't know what a cupboard is.
That happens so much. I do early childhood screening now, able to screen kids 3-4 years old in reading. And so much of it is cultural.
Yeah.
That's right.
How do we identify that thing that in Tennessee they say that word, in Wyoming they say that
Sneakers,
word, Philadelphia.
tennis shoes.
And what does that do?
Yeah.
Not what is that word? Oh, the speaker plays me. Oh, he knows what that is. Now, and they might call it, now speakers are usually referred to as speakers, but maybe in his house they call it the music box. You know what I'm saying? But he knows what the music box is. He knows what it does. They just call it something different. However, on tests, he would get marked for not knowing what the music is.
Exactly. 2 things. Imagine telling someone who never uses a saucer. What's a saucer?
What's a saucer?
What's a saucer?
What's a place setting?
Yes.
Who only gets a fork to eat?
Yeah.
What's a place setting, right? You're talking to, one, generational, but also cultural. There's certain things that we just don't do. And there was an actual test that they created by this black professor that said, you know what, let's create a SAT from our culture and give it to someone that's not within our culture. They literally got it, failed everything.
I
right?
would love to take that test. You're gonna have to find that. Find that.
I
Locate
will.
that.
I'll do some research on it. But we have to just, there's a lot of words and terms that we use and adopt. Right? You can just talk to a bunch of kids, have the kids utilize the terms and words that they use now, and tell your parents. Yeah. They'll fail every time.
Yeah.
Right? So if you use that as a benchmark, you know that at the very least, which is something that, I got a director's credential, so I work with early childhood. I worked in that, that ecosystem. And so even trying to get stars to be a 4-star organization, they talk about like colors and arrangement, right? And so you have to talk to a degree colorful to kids because that's how they get it.
Yeah. And you guys were having a conversation before the show. Everyone learns
differently,
right?
Yes, absolutely.
But when we're put in these classrooms, we're all going by this one model, and sometimes by how that teacher specifically is teaching that one model, and it's so unfair. And school for me, I love learning, but I hated school, and that shouldn't be. Like, and another thing when we talk about these tests, okay. As a parent, right, when I got my son started getting my test scores back, that gives you all the information of where they are level-wise. Right. At that point, that's your signal to go in. And what I mean by that is you get they do break it down where your child is struggling, how they're struggling, where the average is, where they are. And most times a lot of times when parents get that just is like, oh, okay, right? And it goes away. But not just the parent, the administrators get it as well. And I always say, my mom kept a lot of my report cards. So when I looked at them, Brenda's struggling with basic reading. Brenda's struggling with basic reading. They never once put on there how they could help, right? What my mom could do. Right. It was just noted that, oh, yeah, he's struggling. And that was it.
The solution wasn't there.
And another thing was, no one ever said anything to me. Yeah. Not one teacher ever said, hey, Brent, I understand. I know. You know what? We got 20 spelling words. You just focus on those 5.
Yeah.
We got this whole passage to read. Just focus on this and give me these 2-3 answers from here. And that's something that teachers can do. Yeah. That's every teacher know the kid that's sitting in front of them who is struggling. Yeah. To never address that kid is criminal. And how do you say that you love a child, that you want the best for a child, when you had kids sit in front of you years upon years upon years who were struggling, and the best you might, and that's just not every teacher, but a lot of teachers, the best they may do is start to blame that parent. Yeah. And that's wrong. It's frustrating, and it's why we started Fathers Read 365. And one of the things we're doing is teaching parents how to advocate, but also teaching professionals, teachers, how to communicate.
Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to let Brent finish out and tell us what Fathers Read 365 is all about.
Cool.
All right, so don't go away. We'll be right back. You're watching Slingshot the Podcast, the misunderstood voice, the culture's power, at New Millennium Multimedia Studios. And we're back. Thanks for joining Slingshot the Podcast. We are joined by Brent Johnstone and the co-host with the mostest.
Hey,
Charles Gregory. All right, so we're gonna close this out. We've been talking a lot. That last thing was pretty long because we couldn't stop because there's so much to discuss, and I'm sure you watching this are finding the similarities in your own household. So, Brent, tell us a little bit about the work that you are doing. What is your organization all about?
So, Fathers Read 365. It's a father initiative to get men engaged in early literacy, but also to get our communities more engaged in early literacy. And it started almost 9 years ago. Started back in 2017. Me and my partner, fellow co-founder, Keith Staples, we came together. Funny, we tried to start something years ago. It didn't work, and we both went our different ways, but we both started Father's programs. He started Father's Lead. I started Father's Day 365. And when we met back up, it was great synergy there. He was kind of missing what he was missing. We both were missing little things to bring it together. And he represented what I needed, and I represented what he needed. And we came together, and it really originally was to help men coming home from prison reconnect with their families. And we started having conversations about, why do we always work on the back end? How can we jump in front of these men going to prison? And that led us to Fathers Read 365. And one of the first stats when we went to Fathers Read 365, because we're a research-based group organization, is, now I get beat up a lot for this when I say this in certain yeah. Harvard studies show that fathers have the best success when reading with children. Mm-hmm. Children do better when they learn from their fathers early literacy. Mm-hmm. However, what we notice a lot is fathers weren't present in that early literacy space. A lot of times that was that mom's thing. And one of our first things we came up with was changing the narrative, because we were like, we're going to get men engaged in early literacy, not just because we want to, but because we are the better parent. I don't say the better parent, but we have better results, right? And that became our mission. And we didn't know what we were doing. We had no money. We didn't know anything about funding, but we made a commitment to each other that we were going to run this full time and figure it out. Yeah. We didn't get any funding for a while. And to be honest with you, it's hard for a Black-led, two fathers, grassroots, to get real funding. They'll throw you $2,500, $7,500, stuff like that. But we wanted to create an organization like those organizations that we've worked for. So we got into it, and we started out, and we still do what we call Bring Your Dad to School Days. We go into daycares, we read for 45 minutes, we invite the dads out. We wrote 2 stories, I'm Beautiful and I'm Proud, that we sang with all the kids. And I tell my story of living with dyslexia. And we have Mr. Healthy Snacks, my co-founder, Keith, he has diabetes. So we talk around his story and around how, healthy snacks help you. We bring the dads in, and then we recruit them to come back to the daycare center and for them to do a reading or volunteer in some way. Started that was going really well, but we were only giving out 3 books, right? Because we would read 3 stories, they would answer 3 questions, and we'd get the kids 3 books. And when you give out 3 books in a room of 20 kids, now you got issues. And what we learned again from research is, 61% of kids in inner cities don't have home libraries. 300 kids in the inner city are sharing one book based on book distribution, whereas kids in the suburbs, every child has at least 13 books of their own. In DC, Southeast DC, where one of the places where the study was ran, it's 850 kids sharing one book. Wow. So we said, okay, let's get into book distribution. And we literally started pulling more books off our kids' shelf. And then we started finding, and this is where we took off. There was a lot of people who had books that were supposed to be donated, but they weren't going into Kensington. Yeah. They wasn't going into the bottom. They wasn't going into, nice town. And we said, give us the books. We'll be back to get more. We'll go to these places. And through that, we started getting known as this book distribution. And we've given out over 300,000 books in the last 8 years at Fathers Read 365.
That's beautiful. So congratulations to you.
Yeah. Thank you.
And Mr. Staples as well.
Yes.
So, just to close us out here, we are absolutely living in very hyper-partisan times, hyper-political times. You run a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization. Mm-hmm. You mentioned how funding can be an issue.
Especially
now. Particularly Black-led organizations. Mm-hmm. I commiserate with you there. How are you getting the kids through turbulent times? What are you hearing them say about what's happening politically? because all of our lives are political, whether we realize it or not.
Right.
So how are you navigating that space with kids and when they approach you with questions that could be political?
And I would say they more so coming from my children at this point who are still young. And what I think at a very basic level is why, right? And when I say why, it's because certain basic things are being put to task now. Like yesterday, I just recently saw they want to cut special ed funding.
Right.
How can we possibly better this country, right? How can we make this thing great, right? That was the whole thing, right? Making it great. If we're not focusing on children who by nature were born different, who 40% of self-made millionaires have dyslexia. But those people at some point had support, right? They didn't just become these millionaires. They had support. They had classes. They had tutoring. And the regular person can't afford tutoring, right? Some of our best contributors to this world came through special ed.
Yeah.
And if we are cutting that off, how are we saying we're trying to do better for our people, right? So when kids come in and they start to ask, it really goes back to, and I was at a certain point in my life where I didn't know what the vote meant, right? I wasn't very sure what the vote meant. A very clear way to see what the vote means for any person right now, I say in Philadelphia, is September the 1st when SEPTA cuts happen, right? That when schools don't even have an IEP for your child to be able to, or they don't have a pull-out teacher, and now your kid disability that for the last 4 years, special ed got my family through.
Yeah.
Without special ed, my son doesn't learn how to read efficiently as he did.
Yeah.
I'm paying $20-something thousand for 4 years of tutoring, opposed to him getting it for free. We can't allow, and going back to reading, one of the main ways we got into this is people are listening instead of reading. And if you can read information, you can decipher for yourself, oh, this guy's saying this, but he's about to take my job too. He's about to take my health care too.
Right.
I think he's on my side with this disgusting talk and these people I don't like. But if I could read the fine print, I could say, wait a minute, what I call Sooner Care in Oklahoma is actually Medicaid. And I don't think I'm gonna lose Sooner Care.
Right.
Because I can't read and say, oh, Sooner Care is actually Medicaid.
You can let me lose the Obamacare, but I want to keep the Affordable Care Act.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So when people just are listening, and that's what happens when people can't read. They become listeners. And the information becomes their information, what they base their livelihood on is based off of what someone else is saying. And that's very dangerous. And that's the times we're living in now. And there's nothing about this that's right. Taking away services from people who need them. Now, dyslexia is 1 in 5 people. Not rich, not poor, not black, not Asian. 1 in 5 people straight down the line. The only difference is, a lady from Radnor explained this to me. She said, Brent, we get so much positive about Radnor being this #1 school district at the time it was in Pennsylvania. She said, but what they don't tell you, on average, we spend $1 million in just reading tutors in Radnor. Those kids aren't reading any better than a kid at 32nd in Oxford somewhere, right? But they have the resources to pay for them. Our resources came through that special ed, those IEPs.
Because we fund our public schools by property tax. And
one of the
when
most
you live
racist.
in Radnor, right, your zip code has a much different tax base than 19121 or whatever it may be.
Exactly. And that alone, property taxes being tied to school funding, is probably one of the most racist things or classist thing, whatever you want to call it, that has ever been invented.
Yeah.
But when children, so right now, Philadelphia School District, 4th graders, 17% proficient. We're the politicians talking about that, right? If we're going to make this thing great again, don't we need people to know how to read? Now, when we think about black boys out of that 17%, now we might be talking 6-7% of our young black boys who, once they go to 4th grade, will never see a reading teacher again, are basically slave numbers. right? You probably had a good 3% during slavery who learned how to read by hook and crook. We're literally in 2025 looking at children, and this is not just a Philadelphia issue. It's 17 in Philadelphia. I think Newark is like 3%, something crazy. These kids can't read. They can't do for themselves. They can't even challenge the presidents and all these notions because it's over their head, right? They're literally a person who can't read cannot truly survive in positive ways.
And that's why being illiterate is what they wanted for us to be, right? So that we could not move forward.
Yeah, one of the things that I always promote, even with myself, like, ADHD, right? One of the things that I do, because I can't sit and read through a full book. It takes me a minute to do that. I have to keep going back, read, and I'll forget the first few, so I have to go back and keep reading. I started listening to audiobooks, and I say that's probably one of the best things that has ever happened to me. Because, I essentially read a lot because I had to force myself to do that.
But you could listen and still do something else.
Exactly. So that's, I was just going to go there, right? And so with somebody like me, right, ADHD, I have to constantly move. If you look at my show, We Talk Weekly, I stand up and do the show.
Yeah.
Because I can't sit down. And a lot of people didn't know that. They just thought what I do was cool. I do that for a reason.
And it's so funny. I'm thinking about this kid in Kensington real quick. And he had these deck of cards.
Yeah.
He would just shuffle these decks.
Yeah.
Do his work. Shuffle. It was a weird little thing, but he could do it.
Yep.
Take that deck of cards away from him.
Oh, he
like,
go crazy.
It's a total different kid.
Throwing.
No one's getting work done.
Yeah.
And I remember my co-teacher, old school, was like, hey, but don't. I said no.
Yeah.
Don't. She said, but I said no buts.
That part. Yeah.
Just observe the day.
That's right. That's right.
And at the end of the day, she came the next day. She bought 3 packs of cards. She said, he ain't never running out of cards. We got a backup.
That's the thing. But see, we've become so programmed in what we consider the norm. Right? That we think that's the right way and this is the wrong way. Don't blame me because you can't walk and chew gum. That's what I say.
Right. And
don't blame me because you can't walk and chew gum.
If I walk in a classroom and everyone is sitting there like this, that's not a good classroom.
It's not.
Because everyone is not this type of learner. Yeah. Someone should be sitting up, moving around, writing his work. I used to put on music when I was a teacher.
Yeah, yeah.
Literally put on music and just let it play undertone.
Yep.
That's another little wavelength that got my ADH, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it's sad what's going on because we can help it, right? Only 5% of the world can't read. Yeah. There's only 95% of the world, whether they have a difference or not, if they're taught the right way, can learn how to read. Mm-hmm. That's what we should be pushing politically. Yeah. That's where we should be trying to find money to get kids help. And we also need some of our politicians to stand on that type of time too. It's like, listen, instead of just fighting back with what's not right, what are we? What should we be focusing on? And even him with his cuts, I'm always a change guy. But you got to tell me what we're changing to. It's one thing to cut something and just say, we're getting rid of it. All right, so what's replacing that? Because if nothing is replacing that, then that wasn't necessarily hurting everyone. That was actually helping a lot of people. If we're taking that away, what's next?
I can tell you what's next. And it's something that Khadijah spoke about in the beginning of the show and throughout a lot of shows. Literally, what you're talking about is pretty much the pillar that supports the school to prison pipeline.
It's that.
That's exactly.
It is that. Because that's the new slavery.
Yeah, that's it.
That's the
especially
legal
when
slavery.
our prisons are for profit.
That's right.
And someone's making money off of.
And what I want to explain to someone, it's not always, I don't know how much time we got, but I like to give this example of the school to prison pipeline.
Yeah.
I was working in Kensington at Stanton, being Allegheny, last traditional job I had. They asked me to talk to this young man. This kid was like Big Pun. He was a huge Puerto Rican brother. He was a good kid, but he had started walking out of class. And they couldn't no one stop him from walking out. I couldn't stop him. I'm like, what y'all want me to talk to him? But anyway, I went and talked with him. And at the time, I was telling the kids about my situation.
Yeah.
So I said, listen, they telling me you're starting to work out of class. You never was a problem. You're starting to show these signs. He said, listen, I'll be real with you. And I'll tell you something because you told me.
Yeah.
He said, I can't read.
Mm.
And he said, you struggle with it. I said, I do. And he said, well, because I'm quiet, and he figured this part out, they think I know what's going on. So they're starting to call on me, and I'm not embarrassing myself.
That's right.
So he starts walking out of class. Eventually, he starts walking out of where? School. Kid lives in the biggest heroin district in America.
Unbelievable.
He's 6'2", 300 pounds, 13, 14. He's a bodyguard.
Mm-hmm.
He can easily be used on those blocks. He doesn't necessarily want to be used on those blocks, but he wants to feed himself. He wants to eat. He wants to fit in. He easily gets the pack next. He easily hold the gun or hold the block down because he stopped going to school because he wasn't learning. Yeah. He dropped out. And when you drop out of school, you drop out into the street. He wasn't the bad kid running around tearing up the school, but he'll end up in the same place with those. So a lot of us think, oh, it's the kid that's cursing. No. It's anyone who can't read because they still have to survive.
Yeah,
and 70% of prison is what? Survival crimes.
Survival crimes, that's right.
75% of prisons are also what? Illiterate men.
Right.
85% of juveniles, illiterate men. Yeah. So we do know exactly where this goes, and this is why they try to shut down special ed, because we shutting down everything, and we sending people who can't make it and can't figure it out to jail, to prison. And that's why our prisons look the way they. I know great young people in them prisons.
Yeah. Me too.
We all do, right? Yeah. Their jackets may say something else, but at the heart of it, they were good people. And they just didn't get the right help. And now we're always going to have some that, fall to the waste. I ain't going to say that. But some that just don't make it. But those percentages don't have to be that high.
Right. That's right. All right. Well, what an amazing episode here. We're going to have to invite you back, Brent, because we can't get you in 30 minutes.
I'm a talker.
We're going to have to get you back here. So,
I'm a pleasure being here. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah. So I want to thank you all for being with us today. And I want to make sure that you, get in touch with Fathers Read 365. He's a nonprofit.
Yes.
I'm sure you need some funding. Where do they go to?
FathersRead365.org. It's a great little donating mechanism on there that you could donate once till you could donate all the time. My gym teacher donates $200. My old gym teacher years ago, $200 monthly. Actually, $300 monthly.
That's a lot of money.
Also, that's a lot of money. Gym teacher that I ain't seen in years. Fathers Read 365. We have our documentary, Reading is Love. It's currently airing on Tubi. September 19th. It'll be available on all streaming platforms. It tells the story of Fathers Read 365. So if you want to check that out, Reading is Love on Tubi. September 19th. It'll be available on all.
And your book, when's that?
The book, August 31st. Dyslexic and Proud. Born from a struggle, told my way. I got into it. Took me 2 months to write this book, but a lot of crying, a lot of emotions went into it because it's a story of my struggle from kindergarten through where I am presently.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you being vulnerable and transparent. That's one of the things, especially as men.
As men, we need it.
That's right.
And I always say this to end. How many people, once somebody told me, everyone will tell you they have a math problem. No one will ever tell you they struggle with reading. Yeah. And I always say, how many people do you know outside of me that will just come out and say, yeah, I struggle with reading and writing? And most people won't know a person who has outwardly admitted it. And until we admit it and until we stand on it, people who will deal with it, it's going to be never addressed. It wouldn't be addressed.
That's so interesting. We have to close out of here. But that is so interesting, right? Because someone will tell you in a minute, I have a problem with math. Mm-hmm. I can't get math. You're great at it. Good for you. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And move it and move on. Okay. We're gonna cut it here. I want to thank Brent Johnstone. We're gonna come back. You're gonna come back here, please.
Will do.
So thank you, Brent Johnstone, Fathers Read 365. Thank you for being with us. As we close out today's episode, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention it as an organization, leading an organization, a voting rights organization that's trying to get as many Pennsylvanians registered to vote as possible. And I will tell you, leading a voting rights organization that does voter registration, there are so many Pennsylvanians that we are registering to vote and needing to assist in the registration. because they cannot read. And it could be for various reasons. And as long as someone gives us a cue that they're going to need some additional assistance, we are there to assist them along the way to make sure they get registered to vote. Those closest to the pain must be closest to the power. And power is at the ballot box. And if we can't get everybody registered to vote, no matter whatever disability they may be experiencing, we need to make sure there's someone there to help. So for you out there watching today, I hope that you enjoyed today's episode, Reading Rainbow, and talk to somebody in your life, somebody that you know needs some assistance today. Go find them, help them out. Have a good one, everybody. Thanks for being with us. I'm Kadita Kenner, and you're watching Slingshot the Podcast, the misunderstood voice, the culture's power.